All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
That was okay, kind of.
Morning.
But you know, they told me this would probably be my best class I would work with all day today.
Good morning.
We should try again. Morning.
Morning.
That's better. My name is Mr. Luke, and I'm a teacher. One of the things I do as a teacher is I travel all across the United States. And I work with students like yourselves and the teachers like the ones here at Stafford. And we talk about textbooks. How many of you love this book?
I study this thing every night.
Guy got a half a hand. He's spoofing. The rest of you I would consider normal. When I ask that question anywhere in this country, very few high school students put their hands up. It's dull. It's dry. It's boring. It's hard to read. There's big words in here I don't understand. It's a little bit heavy to carry around, and they'd like to set this thing on fire. Accurate? So Vermont's no different. But then those same students will say, yeah, that stuff's all true, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. I just wish I had a better way to get it out of there. If I could do something different to help you get more out of this, would you be willing to try it? All right, and so you're actually in the section on crime and drugs and crime. So my objective for today, for what your teacher gave me, it says students will be able to describe and explain the connections between drugs and crime by evaluating text. We're going to practice a skill that all strategic readers can do whenever they deal with text like that, and it's basically evaluating it. There's a lot of fluff in this book that doesn't need to be in there, but there's some good stuff too. All right, so let's take a look in your book on page 57. And we're going to start on the last subtitle on 57 that actually says the link between drugs and crime. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you preview text like this before you ever try to read it? How many of you preview it? Tell me about that. What do you do?
I just read it before we have to read it in class.
You read it before, so you read it before the teacher ever assigns it. You kind of work ahead then?
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else do anything different with it?
Not read it.
Not read it? What do you do?
Sometimes I go through and take notes, like on what I think.
All right, tell me what that would look like. How would you know to take a note on something?
You take the headline type thing.
Like the subtitles,
Yeah.
okay?
And then go through, skim it, and take what you think is important.
So you're kind of like making an outline of it, sort of.
It's like we have words that have definitions on the side of the text.
So you go through and look at the definitions or the bold words on the side. That makes sense. Most high school students, if I said we were going to finish this chapter today, this is what I catch you doing all across the country. See how long it takes you to figure out what I'm doing.
Counting the pages.
How many of you count the pages to see how long these chapters are? That's not a good plan. I'm going to give you a better one, and it incorporates a lot of stuff that you already told me. Strategic readers preview this stuff first. Don't ever wonder what's on the next page. We're just going to read it really, really fast one time. We're going to look at the titles, the subtitles, the pictures. This book's loaded with great pictures. A picture in this book's worth 1,000 words. I want to encourage you to look at the pictures. Your friends will say, are you looking at the pictures again? Yep. A picture in this book's worth 1,000 words. Anything that's bold or italicized is a vocab word. It's going to show up on my quizzes. It's going to show up on my certification exams. It's going to show up if you go on further and get your Act 120 clearance in law enforcement. That stuff's going to be there. It's vocabulary. Always stop and look at that first. So let's preview this together before we start. We're going to start on body 7. It says the link between drugs and crime. No bold or italicized words there. Take a look at the next page. There's a chart. You always stop and look at the chart. It says illegal drug use in the United States. 2014, 27 million Americans reported using an illegal drug at least once in the previous 12 months. As this graph shows, marijuana is by far the most popular illicit drug in the United States. And current era, that some of that stuff might be changing. We got the Denvers and some other states that are legalizing this stuff. So we'll see where that's going to end up. Criminology of drug use is on the right-hand side. Theories of drug use. Social disorganization theory is in italics. That's why we picked it up. Control theory is in italics on that page. Drugs in the learning process. Drug abuse and addiction. Drug use and drug abuse. We have use, abuse, and drug abuse together. It's italicized and bold in that little paragraph. Addiction basics. Dopamine is an italicized word. Receptors, italicized. Crime and health, the landscape of drug abuse, drug-crime relationship. Got a girl over there putting a band on her arms, getting ready to shoot up with something. I guess heroin, it says in the caption. Page 60, we got drug-defined offenses. We got drug-related offenses. We have drug-using lifestyles, all italicized. Drugs and national health, prescription drugs, marijuana legalization, legalization's bold. Consequences of legalization, the future of legalization, diversion is in italics. Criminal justice policy, your take. It's referring us to a reading. All right, so we previewed this thing. Are we going to learn about the Fourth Amendment today? Search and seizures and warrants. Wasn't in the preview. Are we going to learn about any of the amendments to the Constitution today? Nope. Stop and frisk? No, we're going to learn about crime and drugs. You should never have to wonder what's on those pages. Just preview it first. You can do that in any class, not just here. Don't count the pages. Look through this thing. All right, so we're going to practice a skill. We previewed this thing. Here's what I want you to do. We're going to read this, but we're going to evaluate it. For this piece, you're going to need, some of you already have notebooks. I see you have them out already. If you don't have notebooks, you're going to need a piece of paper, and I have paper with me, so if you need a piece of paper, just let me know. Who needs paper? Make sure you put your name on this. He needs one too. And put today's date on there. Today's the 20th. If you didn't know that, it's on the board.
Thank you.
Everybody else okay? All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a look at this section on drugs and crime. And I'm going to tell you right now, everything in here isn't important. There's a lot of fluff in here. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to actually read through this, and it's about 4 pages. No, it's not even 4 pages. If I take the pictures out, it's probably 3 pages. I want you to find me the stuff in this section that you think everyone in law enforcement should be aware of. And I want you to write it on that piece of paper. Here's the catch. I don't think there are more than 4 important things in this text that everybody should know. So you can only write 4 things on your paper. So choose wisely what you write down. It's not all important. Decide and tell me what your top 4 are and write those on the page. Nothing else, just the top 4. All right, when you're reading this, if you have any questions when you're reading, you raise your hand. I'll be right there to help you. But find me your top 4 things. Let's evaluate this and find the good stuff. Go ahead and do that now. All right, everyone. Under the 4 things that you wrote on your paper, I want you to draw a line the whole way across your paper. Just draw a line across there. Now, I've been secretly looking over your shoulders as you've been reading this and writing your stuff down. If we were all on the same page, there'd only be 4 things on the board. But I found at least a dozen different ideas walking around this room. There are some people that thought, okay, there are crimes associated with drug use. We all know what they are. The drug use versus drug abuse. A significant number of Americans use illicit drugs, 27 million I think I got. There's a link between drugs and crime. Alcohol users are the most violent. Drug users' lifestyles, the reasons people use drugs. There's a temporary pleasure or a rush. Marijuana legalization, drugs and your health, neuroscience of the drugs and how they affect your brain, dopamine. And the theories of drug use. There are 12. That's a lot of ideas. I think we need to weed them out a little bit.
One thing I see up there is something that was underneath one of my headlines of like categories.
Okay, which one?
It's the pleasure or rush. So
Right.
It wasn't really my idea. It was just a description of one of the broad ideas.
But it's cool though, because well, it's why we do it.
That
So
kind of like connects
Sure. So it's a chemical, the way this stuff works in your brain, the neuroscience behind it, right, which I liked on both the papers. Here's what I want to do, though. You guys ever watch Survivor on TV? You ever heard of that show? People come on the island, we have a little contest, we vote them off. We're going to play Idea Survivor today. Those are the 12 big ideas that I got off paper in this room. You don't want to keep 6 of them. So here's what I want you to do. Under that line that you just drew across your paper, take a look at this list. All I want you to do on your paper is write down 6 numbers for me. You don't have to write down the whole statement, just the numbers, because that might change. Show me which 6 you would keep. If we vote something off the island in here, that means we erase it from the board. Tell me which 6 should stay. Don't talk to your neighbor. I don't care what your neighbor thinks just yet. Tell me which 6 you would keep. Just write down 6 numbers for me. And you do not have to write down the whole statement. Just give me your 6 you'd keep. All right, next step. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make some groups. I'm going to let you 3 stay there as a group. I want you to do me a huge favor. Can you work with those 2 and make a group of 3? And I'm going to let you 4 be a group. Here's what I want you to do. Take your list of 6. Talk it over with your team. Convince them that you have the right 6. I need you to agree on which 6 you're going to use. All right, you have to agree on it. So see what you have in common first. You might have a bunch of them in common that you all have. All right, see if you can work that out, work together. And I'll be around the visit. All right, so the first thing, just see what you have that lines up. You may have a lot of thinking that's the same, but I need you to agree on those 6. See what you guys have in common first. And then you'll have to dig in maybe for the last 2 or 3. All right, so here's what I want you guys to do. See what you have in common first. Some of you may, I see a 2 there. I see a 2 there. I don't see a 2 there. And I don't see a 2 there, so 2's not going to work. What's the next number is a 1. I see a 1 there. 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 Hey, 1, circle 1. You all have that in common. I see a 7 here. I see a 7 there. I see a 7. No. Yeah, that's a 7. Is that a 7? No 7. Okay, keep working. See what, there's a 10 here, a 10 there. No 10, no 10. See what you have in common.
You're supposed to take your numbers off the board.
I agreed with mine because I was.
You have to look up there and
So
pick
he
6
didn't
of them
write
that you
those.
agree with. 6 numbers that you
So you got 1, 2, 12, 11, 7, and 4. He's got 5. You got
I
3
did
so
it
far.
wrong. I wrote down the title and then.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, don't even write those. All you need is the numbers, because this is all maybe change in a minute. Who knows?
Okay, who has 4? Who has 6?
I also have 7.
Who has
Reasons
9?
people use drugs. Me and him had
So you guys agree on 1, 4. You have almost the same.
Me and him have almost.
So you just want me to get rid of him?
Yeah.
Vote him off the island, or what? What do you want to do? Take his torch, or what do you want to do? So you 2 have to convince him that you're right, or you got to convince them that they're wrong. Your choice.
Alright.
Did you agree with anything that they agreed with?
Yeah, we
1, 4, and
agreed.
9.
Yeah.
So you're halfway there. That's not bad. Okay. So what did we end up with? You agreeing just 2? All right. So can we try majority rules for the other? Is there anywhere you have 3 and one person doesn't see it that way? We got any of those? Let's see what we have in those. Or can you give me a 3 out of 4? You got any of those?
These are the 6 we're keeping. So
Those are the 3 so far that you're agreeing on. Okay, 1, 6, and 12. Okay. You got 3 more. Is there any that you get 2 out of 3 on? Maybe you could do a majority rules for the other 3.
what about like the
7 and 12 are kind of like the same thing.
Yes.
Reasons people use drugs and theories of drug use.
So what other ones did you guys have then? That I didn't write down.
12, 6.
12 is kind of stupid.
I like this one.
You like 5? I said I liked 5. I like 5.
I mean, you know, as a police officer or somebody who's going to do criminal justice, you need to know when you pull the guy over that's been smoking pot, he's just going to say, hey, man, give me a ticket. But you know the drunk is going to be mean.
Yeah.
You should probably know that. I like that one a lot.
So we're going to write down 5 then. Sure.
wait, you have 7. Yeah. I have 7 too. Maybe we should use 7.
1, 4, 6, 7, 11, and 12. That's them?
Yeah.
You're in agreement?
I don't necessarily agree with 11. 'Cause
Well,
that goes for-
I'll be back then. You're not there yet. Where are we now? We in agreement yet? What are we saying? 1, 1, 4, 6, 7, 11, and 8. 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11, right? Everybody's in agreement? Yes, no, maybe? All right, yeah, we'll see what happens.
What did you say? One, five, 6, 8, 11, 7, 8.
All right, everyone, take a look up here at the screen, or look up here at the board. I got a group that said agreement already. And this group says we should keep 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11. And you could erase the others. Now, is that okay with everybody else in this room, or would your group like to move one of those dots around?
We gotta move some of those.
You want to move one? All right, let's do one at a time. If you could move one dot, what would you want to move?
Move 8 to 5.
All right, 8 to 5. Now, here's where I need your help. This one said temporary pleasure or a rush versus alcohol users are the most violent. I need you to help me understand why you'd make that move.
Why? Because if you're dealing with somebody that's under the influence of alcohol over the influence of like marijuana, they're going to be a lot more violent, and that seems like a much more like you'd want to deal with that more than somebody that just wants to.
You'd want to be aware of that in law enforcement. So if I pull up on a situation and I see beer cans laying all over the place and I see some guys kind of being rowdy, I'm pretty much going to know I should probably know they're going to be a little more violent than the guys if I roll down the window and it's Cheech and Chong smoking pot. That's what you're saying? What do you guys think about that move? Do you like that move? Or you got a counter argument to put it back? What do you think?
I think we should keep 8 because you don't know how the person's going to act when they're on the influence. They could be hostile. They could just be non-compliant whatsoever.
Help me, give me, you know, he's specific. Well, that could happen for a lot of drugs, but in this reading and in the research, it talks specifically about how the alcohol users were much more violent. So I think that's why you went that way. But I like the idea that you need to understand that it's a temporary pleasure or rush, and eventually they'll, you know, if I give them enough time and I let them cool off or I let the drug wear off, they may be a normal person again. But the research in the reading said that these people are terribly mean when they're drunk, and they're completely the opposite whenever they sober up. What's your group thinking? You want to move 5 to 12? 12, the theories of drug use. All right, help me understand why you'd make that move.
Alcohol isn't illegal, so it doesn't really matter. Because this is talking about drugs and crime. So something that's like a criminal acts, like theory of drug use is like why people would use drugs.
Is DWI or DUI illegal or illegal in Vermont? Is driving while intoxicated or driving under the influence legal or illegal in the state of Vermont? It's illegal. Yeah. Isn't that a crime? Yeah. So tell me about the theories of drug use. Why do you think that's so important to know about the theories?
Like why people want to use drugs so bad?
Yeah, and like the way, what it causes.
Well, isn't this the same thing as saying 7? If we understand reasons why people use drugs, aren't there theories behind that? Is that this, or not the same thing? What are you thinking? It's your list. You got to help me.
I think there's a good connection.
So there's a connection. So if I keep 7, I'll get 12, or if I keep 12, will I keep 7? Which way does it work? Is it cause and effect? If I keep 12, like you're saying, I'll get 7, won't I? So I could take this 7, I could put this back on this guy's alcohol because I know he's going to have an argument to put it back up there in a minute. What do you think of the list now? Is it the way we want it? What are you thinking? What do we move?
I'd say move 11 to 9.
Why? Help me.
Because right here was one of the main.
You can read out of there if you want to, whatever it's, you can, or you can paraphrase it, your choice. Hey, he's in the text, by the way. He's on page 60 under marijuana legalization if y'all want to peek.
Okay.
And I think I want to look too, so I want to see what you're looking for. All right, what's it say? You can paraphrase, you can read right out of there, your choice. What do you want to do?
It's America's most illicit use drug, which they're trying to, I don't know. So right here it says, chapter 1, alright, so they're just basically saying that they're trying to legalize marijuana
Right.
in multiple states.
Well, it says they have in Colorado and Washington, and it says they have in Alaska and Oregon. So we have, and the District of Columbia. So we have 5 places in the United States where we've legalized this. I'm wondering if maybe we need to do a little research about what's happened to the crime in Colorado and Washington, or what's good, bad, or indifferent about that. I mean, it's not going to say that in this book, but I'm really curious about what the repercussions were for these 5 states, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
But I like where you're going with that. So,
We'd have to also look up with the driving too, on how many accidents and things like that have happened while in
so in those states, we could actually look at accidents that they think were where marijuana was involved versus alcohol. That'd be an interesting fact to look up. Wonder which one do you think will tip the scale?
I think it'd be probably marijuana because
I think if we understand more about, well, see, now you guys are throwing them away. These 7, the theories behind drug use. If I'm looking for temporary pleasure or rush, maybe it depends on maybe when a person shoots up with heroin, they don't feel like jumping in a car and driving. So maybe we got to dig deeper into this. Or, you know, if we just smoke a bowl of marijuana or a joint, maybe I don't want to jump in a car and drive. But maybe when I drink alcohol, I want to be Superman. I mean, they call them beer muscles for a reason. People do foolish things, I think, when they consume alcohol. So maybe if we understand more of these theories or the neuroscience behind what happens to your brain, whether we're on a drug or alcohol or something, but we're getting rid of 11 and we're getting rid of 10. So our only hope for that is if we keep 12. Okay, I'm okay with that. Well, how's everybody feel about the list now? We okay? Can I start voting some stuff off the island? Nobody wants to talk about drug use versus drug abuse anymore? Off the island. The significant number of Americans use illicit drugs, 27 million. That's a lot of law enforcement stuff that's got to have to happen. The reasons why people use drugs: going once, going twice, off the island. Temporary pleasure or rush. Drugs in your health. The neuroscience of drugs and the dopamine involved and what happens chemically. Maybe, I guess we're going to get that under the theories. Hey, that was good work. Now, if you were watching Survivor on TV, we'd take a commercial break. Try to sell you a car. Maybe some deodorant. Maybe some shaving cream. We'd come back and Jeff Probst would say, and there's 6 that remain. But here's the problem when you watch Survivor on TV. Only 2 of them can face the jury for the $1 million. 4 more of those have to go home. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to dig into your text. I'm going to give you a few minutes to build your case on what the 2 finalists are for Idea Survivor from that list. You can only keep 2. Work it over, talk it with your groups, dig into the text. Here are the 6 that remain. You can only have 2 of those. Tell me which 2. You can look in your text for ideas, arguments. Just be ready. You can only keep 2. So literally, this is my lesson plan.
I like it.
Preview the text. We inserted the text. We played Survivor. We're going to do 3, 2, 1 when they're done. That's it. Before, during, and after, after, and after. 3, 2, 1 is like a variation of focus. Yeah. So tell me 3 things you know about drug use. Give me 2 examples. I'm going to ask about Vermont things that they know about locally. Give me 2 examples of things that you've seen related to drug use and crime right here somewhere locally. That's okay. Yeah. And then 1 question they still have, if they could ask you anything, what would you like to know about this stuff?
I get to keep that, right?
This? Yeah.
Let's see, are you gonna sign it? I won't send it
I
back.
can, if you want me to. Nobody's ever asked me for that before. Makes you kind of weird, but everybody thinks, my gosh, that's so easy. Yeah, and I'm not here to be, so we're not here to do rocket science. That's NASA's job. We're here to teach.
I told someone that this morning, I said, don't complicate it. So I showed them a lesson plan, and they showed me theirs, and I gotta get rid of all the junk.
Yeah, it's too much work. Well, I sent him feedback that I said, you're making this way too hard, look. And I sent him back a sample. This is all I'm looking for. We got it. And you got evidence to support what you're thinking. 4 and 12. You sure? Yeah. Okay. So, all right, everyone. I got a group that's done, and they are ready. They prepared their argument, and I got a group in the room that says these are the 2 ideas for Idea Survivor, the finalists. Number 4, number 12. Now, here's the question. Does everybody else agree with those 2?
No.
Or do you want to move a dot around?
I agree.
What would you like to move? You want to move 1? What do you want to move? Go ahead.
That's.
Which one would you move if you could move 1? It's okay. I already know because I looked at your paper.
Oh. Well, I said 1 and 12.
You want to move 4 to number 1.
Yeah.
And I saw your group agreed with you on that. Why do you guys think 1? So you're saying, this group is saying there's a true link between drugs and crime. And you want to know more about the the crimes associated with drug use. What does a person do? Why does a person do the things they do based on drugs? So I like that. What do you guys, you got a counter argument to put it back? What are you thinking? Why'd you pick the 2 you picked?
I think those 2 really connect. Like the link.
Help me connect them then, because I'm not sure I'm getting that. Help me.
Like in number 4, like when you find that in the text, it talks about violence and alcohol and illegal drugs and the numbers of people that use them and stuff like that. So that's pretty much connecting the crimes associated with it, like violent crime, alcohol.
So you're saying crimes associated with drug use. So if I'm going to, so are you arguing for this one or are you arguing for that one?
4, because like it talks about the crimes in when you find number 4 in the text.
Okay.
It talks about the crimes too.
Okay. So this one, you're saying if I keep 4, I'm going to get 5, because I still think this one, if you're going to study law enforcement, I think this is a pretty heavy hitter here. You need to know that drunks are mean, not all, but quite a few of them that you experience, especially if you pull them over. They're going to be mean. They're going to be mean, they're going to be nasty, and you need to be prepared for that. Because you know what else is going to be true about this when you pull this person over? Do you know what's going to happen in every situation that you go to as a law enforcement person? You know what's absolutely true? There's going to be a gun there. Every call you respond to, there will be a gun there. Do you know who has the gun? You. This guy might be mean, crazy, and ordinary enough to try and take that gun from you. Maybe not so much the guy smokes pot. I don't know. So I like where you're going with this, but you don't have to convince me. You got to convince them. So you want to put the dot back on here Because you're saying if we keep this, this is linked to that.
5 is linked to it.
5 is linked to 4. What about the lifestyles? Is that linked?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's kind of with 12 actually.
This one goes with 12?
Yeah.
So you're saying this one goes here, this one goes there, this one goes there. What about marijuana legalization? That's like the oddball out.
Just screw it.
Do you think this connects to that too? Or what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking the drug crime relationship relates to the.
Wait, what page are you on here? What are you doing?
Oh, on page
Tell-
60. Well, it leads from 59 to 60.
He's on 5960. Wait a minute, I want to see where you are. Let's go in the text of 5960. Now go ahead and continue.
I think
The
that
drug crime relationship, is that where you're at?
I am.
Clear at the bottom of 59 is where he is, and then he's going to jump over 60. All right, what's it say in there?
So it says drug-defined offenses, drug-related offenses, and drug-using lifestyle. So the drug-using lifestyle and the drug-related offenses. So all of that links with crime as well.
Well, I think you're making an argument to draw it to number 4. Is that what you're saying, to draw that up there?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I don't know. It's your thoughts, but I like where you're going with that. I mean, we're talking about drug-defined offenses or violations. We're talking about drug-related offenses.
Or no, not number. Maybe number
What's the difference
6.
between a drug-defined offense and a drug-related offense? Someone help me with that. You got an example of that?
Actually, I want to change that.
Includes possession of marijuana or methamphetamine production is the defined offense, and related offenses like includes gang violence between rival drug dealers and theft to get money to buy illegal drugs.
So if I'm doing things to get money to buy drugs, it's drug-related.
Yes.
So if I go steal a bicycle and I sell the bicycle for 20 bucks in Vermont, and I use the 20 bucks to buy some more marijuana, that's drug-related. So what did you tell me was the drug-defined offense?
Defined includes possession of marijuana or like methamphetamine products or production. The example uses in the book.
All right. You got any other? What about the DUI or the DWI we talked about? What, driving drunk? Is that a related offense? And I'm really curious if we would dig into these stats, because I'm sure they exist somewhere. What are the offenses related to the different drugs? What are they, how many more people get pulled over for driving drunk than driving under the influence of heroin or marijuana? Sure, it's out there. But it'd be interesting to see. So are we okay with 4 and 12? So let me ask you this. How many by practicing thinking this way and evaluating the text think you got more out of that reading today than if I would have said read this and answer questions at the end? Anybody think this helps you learn this stuff better? I was curious about that. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Close your book. Flip your piece of paper over to the back side. You guys ever done a 3-2-1 review before?
No.
Awesome. Okay, here's what your paper looks like. You can turn it so that it's landscape if you want to. I want you to draw 2 lines like this. Doesn't have to be perfect, just separate it into about 3 equal parts. Just scribe a line on there. Once you put a number 3 here, a 2 here, and put a 1 there. Tell me what you think. What are the 3 most important things you learned today? I want you to give me 2 examples of drug-related crimes in this town. 2 examples of drug-related crimes in this town where you live. You guys have the 411, you know the skinny and what's going on. If you could ask your teacher any question, What's one thing that we'd love to know about this drugs and crime stuff? Write me one question. All right, so you got 3 things, 3 most important things you learned today, 2 examples of drug-related crimes in this town, and 1 question you have about drugs or drugs and crime. What would you like to know? All right, so when I started this lesson, I told you my objective today says students will be able to describe and explain the connections between drugs and crime by evaluating text. Did we meet our objective today? Most certainly did. Thank you very much for letting me teach your class today. You were every bit as good as they said you'd be. I need those papers when you're done with them. All done? Yep. Thank you. All done? Thank you. So, everything above the line is what he thinks. There's his numbers. If you took a picture of the list, you'd have his numbers. There's his final 2. So you watch them do all their evaluation. There's 3, 2, 1 on the back. Same thing. So what he thought was important was above the line. There's the numbers. There's the final 2. You just got to remember to take a picture of that list, because if you notice right now it's gone and we can't get it back.
We just went through our whiteboard training, so I'll be able to have the list and put it in.
Well, if you put them on your smart board, yeah, then you could just undo them and jump to a different page, yeah.
So this is just how it's sweet.
Right. So this, you'll get a paper from every student. So here are the things, here are the 4 things they thought were important above the line. There's the 6 numbers. I took a picture of the list. Don't forget to take a picture. Or if you're going to use your smart board, just go to another page so you can go back and you know what was on the list. Because right now I erased it. I told you I was going to use low tech today, but I took a picture with my phone. So I still got the list. Different kid. There's what he thought.
Yep.
There's his numbers. I have something from everybody. I can see what they're thinking. I don't have to read their minds. All done?
Yeah, I was gonna write my name on it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Done? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you don't have to worry about that, but since you're there, perfect. Awesome. 100% participation. Everybody did something because you didn't have a choice. I'd never called on a smart kid, but I got something from every person. Now, if that's your class and somebody's missing something, can you sneak it in that list? Would they know you did it? Can you make that list come out the way you want to in your world? You betcha. You just help them. So, and there's a 3, 2, 1 from everybody. Those are all yours. All right, we are officially done. Thanks again for letting me teach your class.